Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another COABE webinar, Navigating Guided Pathways in Basic Education for Adults. Today's sponsor is Burlington English, and we have Brandy Cardwell with us, who's going to say a few words. Brandy.
Thank you, James. And thank you, Jessica, for letting me kick off your session. I do have just a few slides to share. The session again, Navigating Guided Pathways, Basic Education for Adults. Brandy Cardwell, that is an image of my colleague, Robert Breitbart. I am clearly not Robert, he couldn't be here today, but I will do my best to channel Robert's enthusiasm and his superior presentation skills. So moving on here, let's see, we all know that guiding students to their next steps for their further education and careers is what we're here for. So know that Burlington English will help you from day one. So we help get your students future focused as early as possible. And we do that with lessons such as this example, which is talking to a career counselor. So we help students, or we help prepare students, English language learners, with the vocabulary that they need to be successful in those conversations that they will likely have with that career counselor in your program. Whether teachers have extensive guidance or career guidance experience, or they're just taking their first steps assisting students, we're here every step of the way to explain that process. So we really hope to help make teaching easier with Burlington English. And another example from our course called Career Exploration and Soft Skills. It does a great job explaining what the concept of a career pathway is. So the work we do in our life, and then it gives them the concept of a road with many stops. So the stops along that path may be English classes for our English language learners. Perhaps they're transitioning, ready for careers or ready for those college classes. We help students explore all 16 Department of Labor career clusters, and we help them determine what they'd like to study. So in this example, we see the career cluster of health science, and within each career cluster, you have examples of jobs that we call job cards that students can save to portfolios. You always have a narrative, and then you have job duties that the students or the professionals may be required to do in these particular careers, the skills and abilities that they'll need to be successful in these careers, and then what kind of requirements are going to be required. In this case, it's a post-secondary certificate. We help by getting students motivated, so help students set goals. We know goals help drive persistence. So have your local Burlington English representative show you our fantastic student career pathway portfolio. In this example, you see a student's education plan. So in these portfolio activities, you can do things like save the career cards, those job cards, you can develop that education plan. It may be an activity that has them work on writing skills to prepare for the resume or write a cover letter. In this example, the student has suggestions. Maybe they need to study in an adult basic education program, take a high school equivalency test, or prepare for that high school equivalency diploma. Maybe they were interested in a certificate program, or they're interested in an apprenticeship. So again, really working on those writing skills that they'll need once they progress past their English language classes. And then lastly, the people make the difference. This is an image of several of my colleagues from across the country. And we are here to assist you every step of the way. So if you're not sure who to contact, you can visit our website at burlingtonenglish.com/contact. Feel free to contact me. I am brandy.c@burlingtonenglish.com. I can help with that. We love to help if you've worked with any of us in the past. That's what we're here for. It's complimentary. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to pass it on to James and Jessica.
Brandy, thank you so much. We want to thank Burlington English for their sponsorship today. We would not be able to put on these webinars for our members if it weren't for partners like you. So thank you very much. Okay, our presenter today is Jessica Strickland. She has been teaching since 2008. She was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Philippines and in the Ukraine. Later, she taught in China before moving back to the US to earn her MAT at USC Rosier School of Education. Strickland spent 2 years teaching at the University of Texas at Arlington before moving back to Washington State to teach adult education, high school completion. Jessica has been involved in guided pathways since 2017. You can say hello by typing in your name and letting us know where you're calling in from today in the chat box. If you have any questions during her presentation, feel free to submit those in the Q&A box. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Brandy. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And I don't have to introduce all of my teaching background because James just did it for me. That was perfect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. It's just amazing to me. You're all putting in where you're from and all across the nation. And this is just, it's really exciting to be here. My name is, again, Jessica Strickland, she, her pronouns. I teach in the Seattle, Washington area. I actually teach at Shoreline Community College, but most people are like, where is that? And that's, it was part of Seattle until 1995. The town got too big, so they had to make it its own city. So now that's why it's kind of funny because everything's just kind of spread out here and there. But we were part of North Seattle. Now we are our own city. And that is where my daughter and I are currently. I actually was teaching at Big Bend Community College in Moses Lake, Washington, which is in the center of the state. And if anybody is familiar with Washington State, it's a very different once you go over the Cascade Mountains on the east side, it's a very different state. So it's nice to be back on the west side, which is where I was raised and where my daughter was born. So we're happy to be home. And but most of this presentation, you'll see Big Bend come up, and that's because that's where I was when I made it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me for just a moment. Okay, good. All right. So there's my contact information. If anybody wants to contact me later, if questions come up, you are more than welcome to send me an email, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions. So I earned tenure at Big Bend and decided that was so much fun to do it again. So I'm back on the tenure track for another 3 years. And but the appeal of moving to the west side, but also to moving to Shoreline specifically, is that they also made me the chair of the adult basic education program. So I have been part of ABE for a very long time. I'm assuming since you signed up for this that everybody knows what adult basic education is, but I would be a really bad teacher if I just assumed. So I'm going to explain. So adult basic education, or basic education for adults, when you have students that for whatever reason didn't complete their high school diploma. Okay, so you have students with that are coming back to do that, whether it's their GED or their high school diploma equivalency. And I think what I love most about our students is all of their life experience, because almost all of them have overcome some form of adversity in their lives. Obviously, things didn't work out when they left high school, when they were teenagers, but they're coming back, they're determined. We work with a lot of people that have been in the workforce for years, a lot of parents. And I think I think they bring such a unique perspective to the classroom. And I think that a lot of the younger programs that are coming up, like Open Doors programs, for example, where you have younger students who are, 16 to 18 range, who are maybe not thriving in the typical high school platform, so they decide to come to a basic education for adults program. And I actually had a student this summer say, why am I like the youngest person here? He was 17, and he's like, all these people are like in their 30s and 40s. They're so old. So I said, well, I think that that's great, because you actually get to learn from them as well. You're not just learning from me, you're learning from your peers who are here to also shed light on their personal experiences and help you thrive as well. So I think it's a great mix of experiences and backgrounds and tapping into that prior learning. And it makes for a unique set of students. And I have taught, like I said, I've been in adult basic education in Washington State since, well, I started in 2013. And but in Texas, I was teaching international students, specifically English 101 and 102. I've also taught English 101 and 102 in various colleges across Washington State. So it's just a different, you know, these are students who have graduated from high school the traditional way and then gone straight to college. And then you have our, you know, the adult basic education students who have come back and are earning their high school diploma. And I think that it's they're just very different students and very unique. And I think that it makes all of you who teach them unique and special as well, because they are often misunderstood. And I think that that's one of the guiding principles of guided pathways, is helping those students along the way and getting them out of, not just in BEDA, but getting them to the college. And that is what the purpose of this presentation is. It's to show you how your programs can teach students in BEDA, help them through guided pathways, and then get them on the path that they want to be on, and then help them just directly transfer into college courses. So you're doing a lot of the legwork. And inspiring them. Oh, okay, all right, I have to click. Okay, sorry. I was telling James, I'm on a Mac, which is it's my personal computer, but I'm so used to using the PC now that the college gave me that now I'm like, oh wait, how do I work things? So excuse me if I have tech issues. Okay, so let me minimize us real quick so you guys can see. There we go. All right. So what is guided pathways? And for those of you who don't know, guided pathways is part of a reform movement that aims to improve community college students' rates of completion, transfer to four-year institutions, and attainment of jobs with value in the labor market by reframing the entire student journey. This new journey includes intensive and continual academic advising, early career exploration, structured academic and career-focused communities, and active and applied learning experiences. Okay, so what does all of that mean? That's okay, I have some info. Oh yeah, sorry, click. All right, the 4 pillars of guided pathways. So you have clarified pathways to the end goals. And I'm going to show you how that was done at Big Bend. And if, you know, every college is different on how they clarify those. Help students choose and enter that pathway, help students stay on the path, and ensure students are learning. So again, guided pathways is a movement that seeks to streamline a student's journey through college by providing structured choices, revamped support, and clear learning outcomes, ultimately helping more students achieve their college completion goals. One reason guided pathways is so challenging to implement is the lack of clarity around what it is, right? You have this image here, and you know, as you might suspect, just looking at this list, the pillars of guided pathways outline broad principles, but leave the specifics of implementation up to interpretation. So that leaves that's why every single college might, you know, do things a little differently, because everybody's interpreting this in their own way. And so I think what has happened is that I think transitional studies, the department in BEDA, has just kind of, I don't think that the colleges realize how crucial we are to getting students on the right pathway, because honestly, for our students, it all begins in BEDA, right? It all begins in transitional studies, where they are coming back to earn their high school diploma or equivalency, and then moving on. And sometimes they just want to go into the workforce, which, you know, that's totally fine. But many want to be on a specific pathway where they earn a degree, and that's where we come in. We can inspire and talk to them and get them all set up in transitional studies. They don't have to wait until they've earned their high school diploma to choose a pathway. Okay. So how do we transition BEDA students to college? So it starts with, oh, by the way, if you hear meowing in the background, it's because my cat's being very dramatic and I apologize. I shut her out of the room and apparently I've just heard her soul. Okay, sorry. So transitioning BEDA students to college courses, I have broken it down into 3 categories. And we're going to start with the first one, which is orientation. Okay, obviously this will be orienting them into not the college itself, but specifically into transitional studies, into whatever the program looks like for you guys, for your college. Okay, so this orientation has been designed to assist students with preparing to succeed in specifically in the Big Bend BEDA program. We specifically for Open Doors and High School Plus students. So just to clarify, Open Doors and High School Plus, I don't know if it's nationwide or if it's specifically a Washington State thing, but High School Plus is where the students are earning credit towards a high school diploma. And they're not just getting their GED or they're actually earning a Washington State high school diploma. And Open Doors is the same thing. It's just for the younger population. So that's what you're going to see that pop up a lot. And I just wanted to explain what that meant. According to the Guided Pathways mission, the systemic institutional approach focuses on the construction of a transparent, structured educational experience that effectively engages each student from point of entry. You are the point of entry, right? Transitional studies is the point of entry. So orientation explains basic things, okay? So we have like how to check out a laptop, I think that what the pandemic showed a lot of us is the lack of digital literacy skills our students possess or don't possess in this case. And the lack of technology that they might have. So it's definitely a privilege to be able to own a computer, and not everybody has that privilege. So I'm really happy to see colleges across the nation making that a priority to get the technology into students' hands. So checking out a laptop, however, or having laptops available in the classroom, whatever that looks like. Making sure that students understand the grading policy. And for us specifically in Washington State, we are a competency-based program. So making sure they understand what that means. And then giving them student resources. So that provides obviously the important phone numbers that, and emails that they're going to need, but how can they get access to tutoring? What are the campus resources available? Another thing that I think that's really unique about our program is the amount of struggles our students might have to face. For example, that could be homelessness, a lack of access to food. So these are all resources that our college made a priority to help students with, and all of that was is within the student resources. So they have access to this. Counseling services, I think, is really important. And then making sure they understand disability support services. I think that for a lot of educators, we have the, disability information in our syllabus, and it's there because it has to be, but we forget sometimes that that's brand new information for the students. So making sure that they understand what that means and what resources they have available to them. Okay. And I forgot to mention this, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'm really hoping you all have lots of questions for me so that I can answer them. And so feel free to ask questions, and I will I'll probably ask James to kind of keep track of them for me, and we'll get to them because I do want to answer your questions. Okay. LMS Support, your learning module system, whatever your college is using. Is that Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas? There's probably more I'm not even aware of. The college in Washington State, the colleges use Canvas. So that is what I have become most familiar with. I used to use Moodle and Blackboard, but that seems like a million years ago now. So making sure that students understand how to use your LMS. So the very first module in our orientation is training them on how to use this online platform. I know that a lot of colleges are shifting back into person, some are shifting to hybrid, some are still fully online. We are at Shoreline, we are hybrid. So honestly, I think that this is a good thing, because I do think that students need face-to-face support. And there's definitely students who learn better in a classroom setting. But then you also, especially for our unique population, you have to remember that, you know, not all of them have access to reliable transportation, childcare, and they also have jobs. So they can't come to class if it's like at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? So the nice thing about this particular platform is that it's completely online, and students can come in and get support if they need it, but they have they can work around their own schedules, and they don't have to worry about my schedule. So that works out really well for them. So making sure they understand how to use your learning module system is critical. Okay. All right, so teaching them the basics. Again, this might be information that you're like, of course they know how to do that, but they don't, because again, digital literacy is not something that everybody has. And I think I always assumed that because my students are younger than I am, that they would know more about technology than I do. But I've quickly learned that's just not the case. So make sure that you know, this particular one, I've introduced them to Google Docs, how to format a Google Doc, introduction to Word, how to format that Word document, and an MLA format specifically. That's what the college uses. So I wanted to make sure that they knew what that was. Okay. And then setting up the students for success. So the next module in the orientation is learner success. It teaches them self-advocacy, how to be an active learner. You know, I was talking to a colleague. Self-advocacy is definitely something that I think our beta students definitely need to learn. They need to definitely have these skills to go up and advocate for themselves, and not just accept the stat, you know, like, oh, well, this is the class I'm in, so I guess I have to be in this class. Making sure that they understand what credits they need and where they should be, and making sure they utilize professor office hours, right? I'm always like, guys, come see me during office hours. And and I tell them, I always notice that students do better when they are actively coming to office hours and getting help. So self-advocacy, big deal. Writing strategies, because again, they don't have this knowledge. How to use Zoom, right? I'm reminding myself that 3 years ago, most of us didn't know what Zoom was. So now we're making sure the students know how to use Zoom. DACA, giving them information about DACA, the CARES Act. Ask a Librarian is probably my favorite feature that we had at Big Bend, and it was set up by the librarian, that it was a chat system that the students had access to it, to a librarian 24/7. So sometimes the librarian might be in Australia. And they had to, in the orientation, they had to use that. They had to ask a question, and then they understood they had access to the library. And our librarian tracked this over a year, and beta students were the #1 students to access online information and online databases, because it was something that we specifically put into our orientation, and they knew they had access to it. So just letting you know, definitely utilize those campus resources and show your beta students what they can do. All right, advising. Making sure that they understand what advising is. I had them create a credit plan, so where they would look at what credits they still needed, create a plan on what quarters they were going to do what classes, and it gave them an idea of when they were going to graduate. So, and specific goals. So it's the very beginning of guided pathways where they're setting a goal for themselves about completing their high school diploma and how they were going to do that and when. So this is really important. Okay. All right. Now that we've gone through orientation, it's time for the next step, which is the actual navigation class, which is specific to guided pathways. Right. All right, so the Navigation 101 course was meant to prepare students for success as they search for a position of employment in a chosen career. Again, Guided Pathways is helping them through college to that eventual, right, career choice, the career pathway that they've chosen. So this is setting them up to actually choose that career path. So it's really important. All right, so for career exploration, giving them a chance to, take the ONET interest survey and setting goals for their career, career search techniques and job search and networking, all of these important skills that we all need now, especially, I'd especially notice this if I had older students from a different generation that was used to just walking into a place and handing a resume or just filling out a job application and getting a job. That's just not the way it's done anymore, right? We have everybody uses the internet, and this is a skill that people need to have, and this is what teaches them that. All right, and then of course, higher education, continuous learning, what is college for? And college exploration and research. Now I realize ideally we would want our students to stay at our community college and get their degree, and they probably will, but do they need a 4-year degree for this particular pathway that they've chosen? If so, then this is where they're actually going to explore that. Okay, and all right, and here it is, the actual community colleges pathways. Okay, so again, every college is different. I'm just showing you what Big Bend did. So you would have the Big Bend had 6 different pathways: aviation, business, healthcare, industry, manufacturing and trades, and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. Okay, so the students, I apologize, take a drink real quick. The students were expected to click on each one, explore them. So example, if they clicked on healthcare, it would bring them to medical assistant, medical office and billing support, medical records and healthcare information, yada, 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 yada. There's more. So they would click on what they were interested in, do the research, watch the videos that go along with that particular pathway, learn about what the program requirements are. And my favorite part was videos of specific from instructors. So I was able to I asked my campus, hey, can I have like a mini lesson, just like a 2 to 3 minute lesson of like what it looks like to be in your class? And a lot of them answered me and said yes. The aviation guys were like, sure, if you come and film us. So I got to, go in the airplane and film them. So that was pretty fun. And it showed students what it's like to actually be in that pathway and to pursue that pathway. And I think it's definitely piqued student interest to explore those pathways and set them on that pathway. I'm still getting emails from students from Big Bend telling me, hey, I finished my high school diploma, I just want to let you know, and I joined the aviation program, or yada, yada, yada. So it is working, because they are exposed to it in beta, they're not waiting until they've finished their high school diploma and then they're like, now what do I do? So you're actually setting them up on their guided pathway immediately in when they're still in transitional studies, which is fantastic. So this is just one way that you can do this. So the assignment for that pathway is they had to choose a direction of study from one of the programs and write an essay to answer the prompts, which was this. Why did you choose the specific direction of study? What are the program requirements for a certificate or degree? That's really important. What are the career opportunities? What struggles do you anticipate? What strategies will you use to overcome those struggles? So all of this information, when they write this essay, what I would do with it is then upload it into their advising notes. So for example, Big Ben used Starfish. So whatever platform you use to track student progress, we would put that in their notes so that future advisors, when they get to the college side, could actually look at that and say, oh, this student is interested in manufacturing. Okay, so they're already on that pathway. It's already set up. They've done the legwork. They've done the research. They know what they want to do, and they're ready to just get in and do it. So this is a great way to do that. A great setup. All right, finally, the last pillar of this is exit advising. Okay, so the whole point, of this entire, orientation, navigation 101, exit advising is the attainment of high quality post-secondary credentials and to get that to that career. So hopefully now they are ready to move into college level classes, and exit advising gives them the opportunity to have that final conversation with somebody in transitional studies about their pathway and the expectations that are required. And this happens after they've completed their high school diploma, right? They're done with the program, they're ready to move on, whatever that might look like. For example, I would do this right after they've earned their credits, and we would fill out their graduation application together, and then I would have the conversation. Okay, now let's look. I would pull up their essay they wrote for the guided pathways and say, okay, this is what you said you were interested in. Is this what you still want to do? 99% of the time it's a yes, and we would set that up, and I would give them whatever resources I could provide them. Is that whether that's Wes Skill Source, again, whatever it is that that I could help them with, and then putting them in contact with their next advisor, which is usually Wes. Okay, so all right, you guys are still with me. That's great. So I wanted to let you know that the orientation and the Navigation 101 course that I designed is available to you. It's public and it's in Canvas Commons. So it's really easy to access. You just search my name, Jessica Strickland, in the search box, and you will have access to all of this information, all of these resources, and you use what you want. I'm a firm believer in sharing resources amongst educators. So please feel free to use what you want, get ideas, and I hope that this helped you create your own BEDA guided pathways program so that you can get your transitional studies students on a specific pathway and transition from your department into college ready classes. All right, I will say that I do believe that you can access this presentation. I think you're going to get a link to this, but if if you want to access today's presentation and to look at things closely, you can scan that QR code that's on your screen, and you will have access to my my presentation. Feel free to use it and do with it what you would like. Okay, now we get to actually answer some questions. Okay, all right, I'm back. So I apologize if I missed any questions that were in the chat. Is there anything I can answer? Could you use a career awareness survey before starting here? Janice, I see that you asked, could you use a career awareness survey before starting here? So the ONET is a career survey that gives students an idea of like what, I don't know if you've used ONET before, but it's completely free online. And it gives the students a chance to explore like their interests, so they can, and then see what specific careers would go with that interest. So yes, absolutely use a career awareness survey, and that as I have it set up, that's in the Navigation 101 course. Platform for student progress. Can you explain more about the platform for student progress? Well, I'm hoping that I did. When it comes to the platform for student success, was specifically the Navigation 101. I mean, you're setting them up for success with the orientation, so they know how to be a successful student. The Navigation 101 puts them on the actual guided pathway that they've chosen. And then exit advising is a formality to get them, to the correct advisor on the college side. So if there's anything specific, I think it was Michael that asked that question. Michael, if there was anything else I could answer, please let me know. Yes, librarians are fantastic. They have many free online services, and if you're not besties with your librarian at your college, please do make that happen, because they know everything. I'm appreciating the thank yous, and I'm glad it was clear. What is the average length of time for a student to go through a program? Again, that depends on where they're at. So for example, if I have a student who comes to me and they only need maybe 2 credits to graduate high school, then it's probably only going to take them a quarter to earn that. But then some students don't have any credits and they are starting from ground zero. And then in that case, it would typically take about a year for them to complete, depending on them, right? Every student's unique and different, but I would say average is 1 year. So 4 quarters. I do not use My Next Move or Novo Resume, but I have heard of both of them, and yeah, use that in yours. I think that's a great idea. You're welcome for making it available on Canvas Commons. Again, just search my name, Jessica Strickland, and I think you'll have access to all of my courses. So feel free to use what you would like. Any other questions? Anything else I can clarify for anyone?
Jessica, there were some questions that were submitted in the Q&A box too.
Oh.
So if you click on that little Q&A icon.
Thank you for explaining what that. Okay. Yes, ABE also includes English language learners. Yes. Well, let me be more specific there. So BEDA, Basic Education for Adults, that includes, or Transitional Studies, that includes everybody. Adult basic education is usually specifically for those who are going towards their high school completion. And ELL are those that are, are English language learners that might need to strength, it depends on what level they're in, right? They might be in level 1 where they're just learning English, or they might be in an advanced level where they are they just need to brush up on their writing skills, whatever that might be. So at a different college, I was able to implement the ELL students earning high school completion credit at the advanced level. So it just depends on the program. Are there ESL students who may have completed high school in their home countries, but may need additional skills offered by the GED or high school diploma programs in order to attend college in the US? Yes. So yes, there are time, like for example, if they've completed their high school diploma, or they've completed some high school in their home countries, we would just need the transcripts, and those students will they'll earn credit through us. It's usually, like, for example, Washington State history. Obviously, that's not something that they would have taken in their home country. And that way they can earn their high school diploma. So their Washington State or US high school diploma. I'd be interested in knowing about critical partnerships to compile existing resources, preparing those for web content as shown here, and creating resources where needed. Is student feedback a part of that process? It is for me. So I always ask my students for feedback, especially when I'm introducing a new course. Obviously, there are some things that I can pick up that I'm like, oh, well, that didn't work out, or this worked out really well. But I always ask my students for feedback. I just do that personally. And I save that data so that I can expand upon and improve courses. So I will say that the orientation course, the navigation course, the exit advising, all of that, which I provided to you, is something that was used for, it's been used now for 2 years. And that is, so it's been nitpicked to death. And so it's been changed quite a bit. So that has worked out. How do we get into Canvas Commons to look up your name? Is there a link provided earlier? I missed it. No. If you Google Canvas Commons, it should take you there, and then you can type in my name. And then if those of you who have Canvas, you can just go into your school's Canvas and click on Commons. Could the resources presented here today also be used for ELL students who are in college and career ready courses? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. The ELL program at Big Bend used most of them. And that way our ELL students were also choosing a guided pathway immediately. Like they were, they went through Navigation 101 and they were able to do that. So again, the advanced level ELL students, absolutely, yes. How would you go about implementing the career exploration piece with cooperation from instructors if programs on campus don't work together much? That's a great question. Oh boy. I think that it's really important that there be a partnership between BEDA, adult basic education, transitional studies, whatever you want to say, and the English departments and the math departments. I have learned to make it a priority to build that partnership. However, if that's not something that you can do, you could always check the MCOs, the outcomes, or you could also contact the chair of those departments and ask for a copy of their outcomes so that you can build your program so that the students are prepared for your community college, whatever, like for example, MLA or APA, you know what I mean? So that's something that you can find out. And I would encourage you to reach out and maybe talk to your chair about hosting a get together, which the college will probably pay for snacks, coffee hour or something where you can get somebody from the English department and the math department to come together and form those relationships. It's really important. It's a beneficial partnership. All right. Any other questions I can answer? You guys are doing great. Oh, I see one now in this one. Do local businesses like to be involved? If so, how? Yes. Again, that's a networking thing, right? Making sure that you network with your specific employers. Sorry, we had a blank there for a minute. So again, in my experience, it was already set up that there was a career fair that happened every single year on campus. So I got to know a lot of the specifically the manufacturing jobs that were in the area and the agricultural jobs, because I lived in a farm area. I learned about the 6 different companies that were all about potatoes. So I was very ignorant when I first got there. And so it really did come down to reaching out to them. And some of them I just drove up to the office and introduced myself and made it happen. So it just depends on the area. I haven't, that would be really hard to do that in Seattle. But our big industry, is cars like Tesla and manufacturing and Boeing. And those are well-established partnerships in the workforce department. So, your college might already have those relationships built with employers. You just have to reach out to those specific departments and find out. You are very welcome. I'm glad that a lot of you found this information so helpful. And thank you, Marlena, for sharing the links. I appreciate that so much. Oh, there's another one. I'm not familiar with Canvas, but can Google Classroom be used instead? Absolutely. Yeah, whatever your LMS is. I mean, I built this in Canvas, but you can build it in any learning module system. Absolutely. And it can be the same information as well. You can just use if you want to go check out the Canvas Commons class, use that as a jumping point and then curate it to what meets your college. All right. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for being here and for being a part of this webinar today. And it looks like the webinar poll James, are you going to explain that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. And again, I did provide my email address. If anybody thinks of questions later and you want to email me, feel free to do so. Thank you very much to James and the COABE program for inviting me. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody. Have a great day.
It was our pleasure, Jessica. Awesome presentation. I love the back and forth and the interactive between everybody. Excellent. I want to thank Brandy and Burlington English again for sponsoring today's webinar. And of course, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I did see a couple questions regarding the presentation and the replay of this webinar. Yes, this will be posted. A replay of this will be posted to coabe.org within about 24 hours, and we will also include the slides. So with that, if you could just take a second to fill out our quick poll before we close, that would be great. And once again, Jessica, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you.